Hello everyone, this is Scott with Hi-Lux Optics, back with another classic rifle, which we are going to get set up to mount a scope on. I will not actually be putting a scope on today. Instead, I will be installing the M14 mounting system that puts a Picatinny rail right here above the action. This particular rifle is a Springfield model of the M1A, brand spanking new, just took it out of the box about 10 minutes ago. Put a little polish on the wood, not a lot, we're going to fix that up later. This is the loaded edition with the National Match barrel, National Match sights, and a bunch of other odds and ends that I have not had a chance to explore yet. They're not going to factor into this video because what we have to do is remove this here clip guide, install the rail system, and then put the rifle back together. To get this clip guide off, it's going to be just a little bit of extra work. I'm going to have to take the receiver out of the stock, flip it over, access this roll pin from below, knock it out with a punch, put the whole thing back together, and then install the rail. Let's look at what's in the box here before we get any further. Instructions. We have here the complete assembly that will be installed right about there. The side screw that's going to go into this hole here. And I will say at the onset that because all of this is facing the camera, it's going to be a little bit tricky for me to line it up in certain scenarios. So please forgive my bumbling around with my hands there. Oh, and of course, Allen keys. Okay, let's get this thing going. Step 1 of disassembling the rifle. Oh, I should note, it has been fully cleared. There is no magazine. There is no cartridge in the action. I'm just going to, there we go. So step 1, take the trigger group out. I always bump my thumb on that one. And step 2, separate that from the wood stock. Let's set you, seems like a responsible spot to put it. You nice and steady. Now the actual hole to knock out this particular pin is located right in here, coming in at an angle. Now I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up all that well. I will start with a 3/32 or a 5/64 punch. We'll see if that works. If not, we'll work our way down to like a 16th or so. And let's just start hitting things with a hammer, see what works. It does come in at a bit of an angle, like so, and I'm just going to use a plain old tack hammer. Yep, that's already starting to come out. Not a lot of force needed. Drive it out enough. There we go. I don't want to knock it out fully just because then it's probably going to roll somewhere and I'm going to lose it. I know my luck. Looks like I need a little bit more. Well, that's life. Okay, that's a little stuck in as well still. Probably all those new tolerances. But that's okay. We got some wood, we got a hammer. We can make this work. Now, it is important to remember that you will need to drive this out to the left. If you drive it out to the right, it's just not going to come out. There's a bit of an angle there. But there we go. Clip guide is removed. I'm going to put the pin back in there so that I hopefully don't lose it. Next step, I'll put the rifle together before I install all this. I don't need the rifle disassembled for it, and I hate losing parts. So step 1. this back in here. Step 2. Trigger. It's fairly new and everything is just so darn tight. Oh goodness. There we go. Accidentally disengaged. Oh, that little lock there. My fault. And we're back. There we go. Now, first take this apart to get all of your different component pieces. I'm going to remove this screw up on top here. That takes out our own particular piece that goes into the clip guide. Need to remember not to let that fall out. There we go. Slide this in again from the left. And I may have to hammer this one in. Use the other Allen key to make sure that the 2 set screws on top are properly loosened. And it is going to take some hammering. Now, just going to hold this in place. There are 2 set screws on the sides here. I'm going to tighten those up just a smidgen to hold that little nut in place. That way it doesn't fall down on me. Next step. Okay, when we turn it back around to you, it's this little hole over here. That is where this side mount piece is going to go in. I will take the screw out of here as well, which reveals a sort of flat spring underneath the main Picatinny rail. And I'm going to keep everything aligned in sort of the proper direction that I just took it apart, but in reality there isn't much need because these are about even distance, except for the fact that this little divot here is pointing towards the front. Otherwise, it's remarkably similar front and back. Now we'll be putting this here front bracket onto this part of the side using the little screw that comes with it. There is a sort of groove here into which this little bit of a raised protruded section will slide. That helps keep it easy to align. Then you have a little bit of forward and backward play, but as long as that screw gets lined up, then it is exactly where it needs to be. Now, I am not Loctiting any of this at the moment, and I'm not going to be tightening everything to its maximum proper tension, just because I still want to go through the rifle, make sure everything's oiled properly, cleaned, maybe redo the wood a little bit. And then I'll get everything put together all nice and tidy. But for now, I'm not going to do that. This here flat spring goes on the top portion here with the little divot towards the front, and it should line up with those holes right there. Now I do need to turn it towards me so I can see what I'm doing. And before I go any farther, I will be tightening down the set screws up on top of the replacement clip guide piece. Like so. Now this has enough clearance to be bolted in place. I will lay the Picatinny rail down across the top and tighten the screws into the screw holes. These screws are countersunk. They stay nicely out of the way of any crossbars that might be built into the bottom of your rings. there it is. There's a few additional little pieces and gadgets on this bracket that could make it useful in certain scenarios. One, there's a side screw here on the rear clip guide bracket that allows you to move the screw attachment point left and right. You have a little bit of play there to adjust external windage. Same with this set screw up here just above this screw. It allows you to push the bracket off to the left or loosen it to allow the bracket to drift more to the right when you tighten it in place. And finally, you've got a similar screw here, although you do need to be aware that there is a set screw on the front that you should loosen up before trying to move the set screw up here. In reality, that's about all there is to it. Of course, with the clip guide removed and the fact that a rail is over the ejection port, you won't really be able to use a stripper clip. You'll have to load this with your standard magazine. Or I suppose you could squeak in a single feed at a time, but my thumbs are kind of fat. I'm not going to try that. That's really all there is to it. Next step, I'm going to disassemble this entire setup, get it all greased and oiled and cleaned and everything that needs to be done, reattach this with Loctite placed into the set screws that go into the clip guide replacement piece, more Loctite into this little screw that goes into the hole on the left side of the receiver, and just for fun, I'll probably put a little bit more Loctite underneath these two screws where they attach to the actual bracket pieces. And with that, we have now disassembled an M1A, removed the stripper clip guide, reassembled it, and attached the M1A or M14 brackets. I hope this helps you in putting your rifle together and getting it set up to shoot, because I will be taking this to the range in just a few days. Take it easy out there and enjoy whatever it is you're shooting.